Imagine waking up not to the sound of an alarm clock, but to roosters crowing 4,000 years ago. There is no electricity, no cars, no computers, and no smartphones. Yet people already build enormous cities, create laws, trade across continents, and perform highly specialized jobs. Some of these professions were so unusual that today they seem almost unbelievable. When we think about ancient civilizations, we usually remember pharaohs, emperors, and famous generals. However, history was built not only by rulers, but also by thousands of ordinary workers. Archaeological discoveries show that more than 5,000 years ago, there were already dozens of professions requiring remarkable skill and knowledge. One of the most respected occupations was that of the scribe. In ancient Egypt, the ability to read and write was a privilege enjoyed by only a small percentage of the population. Scribes recorded laws, collected taxes, copied religious texts, and managed large construction projects. Thousands of papyrus documents discovered by archaeologists revealed everyday life in ancient Egypt. Some even contained complaints from workers whose wages had been delayed, proof that payroll problems existed over 3,000 years ago. Training to become a scribe could take many years. Students copied the sum texts repeatedly to perfect their handwriting. Papyrus was expensive, so mistakes were unacceptable. Successful scribes often worked for the royal court and enjoyed comfortable lives. Another fascinating profession was that of the mummy maker. Today, mummies are museum treasures, but in ancient Egypt, mummification was an important craft. Specialists understood human anatomy surprisingly well and preserved bodies using resins, oils, waxes, and aromatic plants. Modern chemical analysis has shown that many of these ingredients had natural antibacterial properties. Scientists have reconstructed several embalming recipes by studying residues inside ancient jars. The builders of the pyramids also deserve attention. For centuries, people believed the pyramids were built entirely by slaves. Archaeological excavations near Giza changed this view. Researchers uncovered workers' villages with bakeries, kitchens, workshops, and even cemeteries. These discoveries suggest that many pyramid builders were skilled, paid laborers who received food and medical care. In Mesopotamia, professional astronomers carefully observed the night sky. They recorded the movement of planets, created calendars, and predicted eclipses. Some of their astronomical records are still valuable to modern scientists studying changes in Earth's rotation. Perfumers held another prestigious role. In the ancient world, perfume was not simply for personal fragrance. It played an important role in religion, medicine, and royal ceremonies. Archaeologists have found workshops more than 3,000 years old containing traces of myrrh, frankincense, cinnamon, and other rare ingredients transported over enormous distances. Royal food tasters also existed. Their task was to sample meals before kings or pharaohs ate them, reducing the risk of poisoning. Although movies often exaggerate the danger, historical records confirm that such positions really existed in several ancient courts. Ancient Egypt even had crocodile hunters. Crocodiles threatened fishermen and villages along the Nile, so experienced hunters developed traps, nets, and long spears. Interestingly, in some regions, crocodiles were considered sacred animals, meaning attitudes toward them differed from place to place. In ancient Rome, engineers responsible for aqueducts were among the greatest technical experts of their time. These incredible water systems stretched for hundreds of kilometers, and parts of them still survive today. Their precision continues to impress modern engineers. Glassmakers represented another remarkable profession. Ancient craftsmen perfected the technique of glassblowing, allowing them to produce elegant bottles, cups, and decorative objects. The basic principle of glassblowing remains almost unchanged even today. Modern archaeology continues to reveal surprising details about these occupations. Fingerprints preserved on bricks and pottery sometimes allow researchers to distinguish the work of different craftsmen. CT scanners enable scientists to examine mummies without unwrapping them, while laser scanning helps uncover hidden chambers inside ancient monuments. One of the most exciting discoveries was the diary of Merer, an Egyptian official. Found near the Red Sea, This papyrus describes the transportation of limestone used to build the Great Pyramid of Khufu. It is considered one of the oldest surviving work journals in human history. Many ancient professions became the ancestors of modern careers. Engineers evolved from temple and aqueduct builders, accountants from scribes, pharmacists from ancient healers, and chemists from craftsmen experimenting with metals, pigments, and perfumes. The world of ancient professions was far more diverse than many people imagine. Behind every magnificent temple, palace, or pyramid stood architects, stonemasons, doctors, artists, teachers, astronomers, sailors, and countless skilled workers. Their knowledge was passed from generation to generation and laid the foundations for many professions that still exist today. Studying these occupations reminds us that people living thousands of years ago were intelligent, creative, and highly organized. Without modern technology, they solved engineering, medical, and scientific problems that continue to amaze researchers today. That is why the story of ancient professions remains fascinating even in the 21st century. Another group of unusual ancient workers were professional mourners. In ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome, wealthy families sometimes hired people to cry, sing, and express grief during funerals. Their job was not fake in the modern sense. It was part of a public ritual. The louder and more emotional the mourning appeared, the more respect it showed for the dead person. Some professional mourners were women who knew special funeral songs and traditional gestures of sorrow. There were also dream interpreters. Many ancient people believed that dreams could contain messages from gods, spirits, or the future. In Mesopotamia and Egypt, priests and specialists recorded dreams and explained their meaning. Some ancient dream books listed symbols and interpretations. Seeing water, animals, or certain objects in a dream could be taken as a warning or a blessing. Today, this may sound superstitious, but for ancient rulers, a dream interpretation could influence political decisions, military plans, or religious ceremonies. Another fascinating profession was the maker of purple dye. In the ancient Mediterranean world, purple cloth was extremely valuable. The famous Tyrian purple dye was made from sea snails, and producing even a small amount required thousands of shells. The process was slow, smelly, and expensive, but the result was a deep purple color that did not fade easily. Because of this, purple became associated with kings, emperors, and the very rich. In some societies, ordinary people were not even allowed to wear certain purple garments. Ancient cities also needed public bath workers. In Rome, bathhouses were not only places to wash, they were social centers where people met friends, discussed business, exercised, and relaxed. Workers cleaned the baths, heated the water, maintained the furnaces, gave massages, and sometimes scraped oil and dirt from the skin using a curved metal tool called a strigil. A Roman bathhouse required a whole team of people to keep it running every day. Some jobs were connected with entertainment. In Rome, for example, there were trainers of gladiators. These men were not simply brutal fighters. Many were experienced instructors who taught weapons, footwork, discipline, and survival tactics. Gladiators were expensive to train, so their owners did not always want them to die quickly. A skilled trainer could turn a captured soldier, slave, or volunteer into a famous arena fighter. In ancient China, there were professional silk workers. The production of silk was one of the most carefully protected secrets in the ancient world. Workers raised silkworms, collected cocoons, unwound the delicate threads, and wove them into fabric. Silk became one of China's most valuable exports and helped create trade routes that later became known as the Silk Road. For centuries, other civilizations wanted to discover how silk was made. Ancient doctors and surgeons also had surprisingly specialized jobs. In Egypt, some physicians treated only the eyes, while others focused on teeth, stomach problems, or wounds. Archaeologists have found medical papyri containing recipes, diagnoses, and treatments. Some remedies were strange, but others show careful observation and practical knowledge. Ancient surgeons used bronze tools to treat injuries, remove splinters, and care for broken bones. Finally, there were professional messengers and runners. Before phones, email, or the internet, Information had to travel by human body, horse, boat, or caravan. In large empires, fast communication was essential. Persian royal couriers, for example, carried messages across huge distances using a system of roads and relay stations. Their speed impressed even foreign observers. A message could decide the fate of a battle, a city, or an entire kingdom. All these professions show that ancient societies were complex and highly organized. People did not simply farm, hunt, and build. They interpreted dreams, produced luxury goods, managed public spaces, healed the sick, entertained crowds, and carried information across empires. The ancient world was full of specialists, and many of their skills still echo in modern life.